Natural hazards and disasters. First thing you're going to want to do is click over here in the top right corner, and there is a linked presentation. So my suggestion is open the presentation, have your notebook open to your 2 new slides, and then if you can split your screen, do that so that you can have your presentation on one side and your notebook on the other. All right, so what is a natural hazard? So here's a little video you can watch.
This is Big Idea 8. Natural hazards pose risks to humans. Natural hazards result from natural Earth processes. These hazards include earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, floods, droughts, landslides, volcanic eruptions, extreme weather, fires started by lightning, sinkholes, coastal erosion, and impacts from asteroids. Natural hazards shape the history of human societies. Hazardous events can have a great impact on humans. They can change the size of human populations and drive human migrations. As populations move into vulnerable areas like coastlines or concentrate in areas that are already inhabited, risks from natural hazards increase. Human activities can contribute to the frequency and intensity of some natural hazards. These hazards include floods and landslides, droughts, forest fires, and erosion. Hazardous events can be sudden or gradual. They range from sudden events such as earthquakes and explosive volcanic eruptions to phenomena such as droughts, which may last decades or even longer. Human populations can be at risk from continual processes such as erosion and land subsidence. One example is the increased risk of flooding in New Orleans. Natural hazards can be local or global in origin. Local events can have distant impacts. This is because of the interconnected nature of both human societies and Earth's systems. For example, a volcanic eruption in the Pacific Ocean can affect climate around the globe. Geoscientists are continually improving estimates of when and where natural hazards occur. This analysis is done through continuously monitoring Earth, increasing our understanding of the physical processes that underlie Earth's changes, and developing scientific models that can explain hazard-related scientific observations. Humans cannot eliminate natural hazards, but can engage in activities that reduce their impacts. Natural hazards can result in loss of life, property damage, and economic costs. Humans can reduce these effects by identifying and avoiding high-risk locations, improving construction methods where they do live, developing warning systems, and recognizing how human behavior affects how people prepare for and respond to natural hazards. An earth science literate public is essential for reducing risks from natural hazards. This literacy leads to promoting community awareness about natural hazards and developing scientifically informed policies that reduce risk. And that's Big Idea 8. Natural hazards pose risks to humans.
All right, so this video is going to be a very good introduction because it kind of talks about what the hazards are, gives some examples of things that can happen because of these hazards, so cause and effect, and then it also mentions how we can plan for these so that we can stay safe in these type of circumstances. All right, so natural hazard. You're going to go to your first box, a naturally occurring event that can have a negative effect on humans or the environment. And that is just the orangish yellow color there. And if you misspell something, go back and fix it. I need to put an R. All right. Humans can't control the causes of natural hazards. Natural disasters are actually hazards that become extremely widespread with injury, death, or property damage. Something that you guys might not need to know is if you click on a box in Google Slides, you can use your up and down arrows to move them around. Sometimes when you use your mouse to try to move a box, it doesn't move exactly where you want, but if you use your arrows, it just moves a tiny bit so you can kind of place it where you would like it to be. All right, so we have natural hazards. These are naturally occurring events. They do affect us in the environment. We can't control them. And if there is widespread injury, death, or property damage, then it's considered to be a natural disaster. All right, so what effect does the increase of human population have on disasters? So kind of what this is saying is if a natural disaster hits in an area that has a very large population, that is going to make this natural disaster more extreme because there's going to be more people affected. There might be more buildings in that area, more businesses. So as a whole, if the human population is larger, then there's going to be a greater effect on that area. So as human population increases, the number of disasters increases. All right. So what are some examples of geologic hazards? So there's different types of hazards. There's geologic, that means it happens because of the land. Then there's weather and climate hazards. All right, so geologic hazards. We're going to put landslides. We're just going to list this little list right here. Earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions. All right, now what are the hazards that might happen due to climate? All right, and then examples of weather and climate hazards. So these are things that are created due to warm and cold fronts coming in, tropical storms, anything that might be happening like that. So droughts and hurricanes are already listed for you. Then you're going to do tornadoes, blizzards, and floods. Historical data of past hazards helps us understand cause and effect and allows us to see patterns in hazards happening. So this is just saying that if we look in the past at the way that these disasters or hazards have come about, then we can hopefully say, okay, this is what we're going to see now. This might happen, kind of prediction. Keeping records and making predictions. Not all hazards can be predicted, but for those that can, what are scientists trying to forecast? Historical data of past hazards helps us understand cause and effect and allows us to see patterns in the hazards happening. So that's what I just mentioned here. Some natural hazards cannot be predicted, but if they can, the goal is to forecast. So they want to know, maybe, when is it happening? Intensity, so how strong is it going to be? And then what are its effects on the environment and population? Some hazards occur in specific places and during specific times. What are some examples of this? So some examples are going to be hurricanes. And we experienced this firsthand and kind of still are with beta today. Late summer, early fall on the East Coast or the Gulf. And then they do kind of come here inland to Arkansas, some of the southern states that are close enough that rain can come into our areas and affect it. And then another example of that is tornadoes. And tornadoes come in the spring in the Midwest US. And so we get to experience those sometimes as well. All right, next slide. What does mitigation mean? Mitigation means preventing or reducing property damage due to disaster. What are two natural hazards that may affect our area in Arkansas? So let's think about this. What might be some things in Arkansas that we need to be aware of or more conscious about? Okay, first one that I think of is tornadoes. All right, and if you can't think, you can say, okay, let me go back to this slide. What are some examples? So landslides, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, droughts, hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, and floods. So I think one of the other common ones would be floods. I don't think that anyone should put volcanic eruptions. Earthquakes, we have had some earthquakes nearby, but they haven't really affected us enough that we need really a plan in place at this point. So kind of think about things that you have experienced just living here in Arkansas. So in our mitigation plan, we have to prepare, know what to expect, what to do, and where to go. So if we have a tornado, what do we expect? We know there could be strong winds. There could be some rainfall. We could have power outages. So what do I need to do? Where should I go? Maybe get a phone and a charger, maybe get a flashlight, go into an inner area of the house, like a closet. Response, get information out to those affected. So these are going to be from your local first responders, news stations, and then recovery. How can we provide necessities for those affected and then go back and revisit our plan so that we can be better next time? So what providing temporary necessities could people that experience a tornado need? They might need housing. They might need food. And so what can we do? So do we have shelters in place for these people? How can we mitigate the effects of hazards by preparing our communities before these hazards happen? Next slide. These are the common natural hazards in Arkansas. We listed tornadoes and floods. Severe storms is another one. All right, so there are 4 ways. All you need to type on these is the underlined portion. So 1, prepare people for how to be safe with flyers, mailing. So this is going to be like little things you can put in the mail, and informational meetings. I'm just going to put info meetings. And I'm going to stretch my box a little bit more because it's too small. All right. The second way, and this is what I mentioned a second ago, make shelters known for people that do not live in safe areas. So a lot of places even have storm shelters. So if they know that there's going to be a storm, they can tell people quickly, get to your local storm shelter. I'm just going to make all these boxes bigger just in case I need them. I'm going to bump that one down. All right, the third way that we can mitigate here in Arkansas is to provide dependable food banks that people can resource. So if someone's house gets destructed, if they're out of power, these food banks can help. And then also practice drills so that you are prepared. So we do this at school often, tornado drills and fire drills. So you could also practice this at your house so that you know exactly what to do in your house. So we know what our natural disasters and natural hazards are, some examples, and then what we can do to help prepare ourselves for these types of disasters and hazards. So our preparation is called mitigation. That's our mitigation plan to put in place so that we can be safe and then respond to these hazards or disasters. All right, I'm going to close out of this slide. There are more slides with the videos that you need for the next section, but I have also placed them on your notebook pages. So you will see, here's the tornado video. So you're going to watch this video and answer 1 through 3. Here's your real life example video, number 1, and then your severe weather video, 1 and 2. So you can do those on your own.